Hello everybody. For our final assignment of this week, we will be going over negative exponents and how to simplify them. So I'm going to start showing one pair of positive and negative exponents at a time, and I want to see if you guys notice a pattern before I just tell you what the pattern is. So if 3 to the third, that's 3 times 3 times 3, which we get 27. Well, 3 to the negative third is going to be 1 over 27. Let's look at 3 to the second. 3 to the second is 9, and if you do 3 to the negative second, that's actually 1 over 9. 3 to the first. 3 to the first is 3, and 3 to the negative 1 happens to be 1 over 3. So you should see a pattern starting to emerge that when you have a positive and negative one, the negative one, you just get the positive version, the 9, and you just put it in a fraction. Okay, so let's see if we can apply that to this one. We have 2 squared. We know that's going to be 4. And so now we have 2 to the negative 2. We're going to take the positive version, 2 squared, which is 4, and put that in a fraction. So we get 1 over 4. And this holds for all negative exponents. We have 2 to the first, which is 2. And 2 to the negative first is going to be 1 over 2. Right? So negative exponents almost always become fractions with the positive version number. Okay, it sounds complicated, but when you picture it like this, it becomes a lot easier to remember how to convert between the two. Okay, and so let's use that rule and see if we can figure out what this is. If 4 to the second power is 16, what's 4 to the negative second power? Well, the reason why we have to think of it differently is because we multiply 4 by itself 2 times to get 16. But how do we multiply 4 by itself negative 2 times? It doesn't really make sense, right? So just like we talked about in the above chart, what we have to do to get the negative one, this is what you want to think. Whenever there's a negative exponent, we want to think of the number when the exponent is positive, right? So when this is a positive 2, 4 squared, what's the number we get? 16. All right, so what are we going to do with the 16? And we're going to put it in a fraction, right? So that means 4 to the negative 2 is going to equal 1 over 16. That's how we work with negative exponents. Think of the positive version and then put it under a fraction. So let's apply that right here. If we have 5 to the negative second power, what's that going to be? Well, we want to think of the number when the exponent is positive. So we think, all right, well, what is 5 to the second power? We know that's 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So since 5 to the positive 2 is 25, 5 to the negative 2 is going to be 1 over 25. Not too bad. Let's do a couple quick examples. We'll be all set. So if we have 4 to the negative third, we want to simplify that. We want to think of the positive version, right? So we're going to think of the number when the exponent is a positive 3, right? And we're putting that in a fraction, right? So we can actually just write it in a fraction already, right? So this is what we are doing. We are thinking of the positive one, and then we're putting it in a fraction. So 4 to the third, that's 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. So that means 4 to the negative 3 is 1 over 64. Okay, just 2 more examples. Negative 3 to the negative 2. Anytime we have this negative exponent, we want to think of it when the exponent is positive. So we are going to take the same number. Nothing changes about the negative 3. It's only the exponent that ever changes, right? We keep this as negative 3. And we're thinking of when this is a positive one. So we're going to make the positive 2, and we're going to put it in a fraction already. So we go ahead and think, all right, well, what's negative 3 to the positive 2? Negative 3 to the positive 2, that is negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. So we get 1 over 9. Okay, and just know that it does go both ways. You'll notice for this one, and this is our last one, our negative exponent is on bottom. Right, so anytime we have negative exponents, we do still want to think of the positive version. So we are still thinking of the positive version, except this time, since this is already in a fraction, When we have the positive version, we're taking it out of a fraction, right? So it just swaps back and forth anytime it's a positive or a negative. So we're just going to think of 5 to the positive 3. And now since it's already out of the fraction, we're not going to put it under a 1 or anything. We're just going to find what 5 to the third is. That is 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. So 1 over 5 to the negative third ends up being just regular 125. Thank you. Have a great day.